to my live podcast. Um, I do I host a podcast called Talking and Reading from Japan, and this is um today is my recording day, and I'm going to record my podcast from now. And this is the behind the scene of talking and reading from Japan. I mean, you can join me before and in the middle and after my recording of the podcast. And I do this podcast, talking and reading from Japan, regularly. And in that podcast, I read an episode from the books I wrote. They are my memoirs. And I talk about it or anything. I feel like it. And before I actually record the podcast, I need some preparation, like reading roughly of today's episode, or decide the title of the episode of the day, and just set up the camera or anything. And I'll doing those preparation with you on this live cast. So I hope you enjoy by joining my preparation, and I'll show you everything about my podcast recording and the preparation. And one just for one note, from today, I added one more platform for live cast, which is YouTube. Hi there, those who are watching on YouTube. How are you? How do you do? And from now on, I'll live cast both on Beagle Live and YouTube. So if you like, please follow me or subscribe on this live cast, which I'm doing on a regular basis. So let's get on the business for today. And today, I'm gonna read and record 2 episodes, which means 2 podcasts for my reading. And I'll prepare one at a time, and between the recording, I'll come back to you. And then after the second recording is finished, I'll come back to you again, and there I can see your comments or questions or anything you feel like interacting with me. And I'd be happy to answer your questions about Japan or Japanese customs or anything about me. or I'll read some of your comments if you kindly give give it to me. So please feel free to giving me any comment or question after the recording. So during the recording, I can't talk to you, so you just get on board with me the process of my recording step by step, and you will watch me recording my podcast. Now, I'll start my preparation for today. As I said, I record 2 episodes today, and it's from my memoir I wrote titled "The Girl in Kyoto." It looks like this. And in this, mainly my childhood memories are written. And so everything is actually what happened to me for a long time ago. Today, the first episode of today's recording is like this. I'm reading it roughly, casually, before recording. So you will hear this episode twice in total. So it goes like this. Unlike Christmas cards, Japanese New Year cards arrive all at once on New Year's Day morning. I used to live with my grandfather, and it was his biggest delight to take in all cards for the whole family from our mailbox and sort them by family member's name. He kept a log of the number of cards that each of us received every year. To him, the number reflected power in our family. The one who received most cards had the biggest power. That was him every year because he represented our family. Distributing the sorted cards, he would announce proudly the standings of the year. My personal record was 63 cards when I was 16, and I got the second place to my grandfather, ahead of my father that year. Time has passed. I left home. My grandfather passed away, and the stupid competition ended. By the way, this year, the number of New Year cards for me was 0. This is today's first episode to be recorded. And now I need to decide the title of this episode. What should it be? Are you still there? Okay, it's how about New Year cards competition, or New Year cards competition. And I need to write it down for a future reference. New Year Cars Competition. Okay, now next step is to set up the camera for recording the podcast. And so turn on the camera. Okay, it's done. So now I'm ready to record. Okay. All right. Then let's do it together, shall we? Okay. Start recording. Yep. Hi. Welcome to Talking and Reading from Japan. I'm your host, Hidemi Woods. I read an episode from the books I wrote and talk about it or anything I feel like talking here. I hope you enjoy with me. Today, I'll read an episode from one of my memoirs titled The Girl in Kyoto. And today's episode is about our family's annual stupid competition of New Year's. It's called New Year Cars Competition. New Year Cars Competition. Unlike Christmas cars, Japanese New Year cars arrive all at once on New Year's Day morning. I used to live with my grandfather, and it was his biggest delight to take in all cars for the whole family from our mailbox and sort them by family member's name. He kept a log of the number of cars that each of us received every year. To him, the number reflected power in our family. The one who received most cars had the biggest power. That was him every year because he represented our family. Distributing the sorted cars, he would announce proudly the standings of the year. My personal record was 63 cars when I was 16, and I got the second place to my grandfather ahead of my father that year. Time has passed. I left home. My grandfather passed away, and the stupid competition ended. By the way, this year the number of New Year cards for me was 0. That was today's episode. This is about Japanese New Year cards, and the system of receiving New Year's cards in Japan is quite unique. First of all, like Christmas cards, you write them, and then you drop them in the mailbox on the street. But it's suggested by the post office that they are dropped before a certain date of December, like until 18th or the 20th of December. And you, on that New Year's cards, you need to write a specific mark for that special delivery, because it would be mixed with other pieces of mail, and it's a big trouble if the New Year's cards accidentally arrives before New Year's. So you need a specific mark on your New Year's cards that is on the surface of the card. You need to write New Year's greetings, and then line it with a red pen to be stood out. And most of New Year's cards that are sold in the city, in around the city, has the mark already printed on the surface of the cards, and you drop them into the mailbox, which usually in Japan has 2 slots. So like a narrow slits of the mouth of the mailbox, and you put your New Year's cards there. But in those mailing time is quite special time for Japanese people who quite send those cards in a big volume. And so the one slit is specifically assigned for New Year's cards, and you put your New Year's cards there, and postal workers collect them and hold them at the office until the New Year. And on the New Year's Day, they deliver them all at once to each household. Less and less people send them lately because of email or SNSs, but sending post New Year's cards was used to be a big one of the main customs that Japanese people had. And on the New Year's Day morning, my grandfather rushed to the mailbox of my family and get them for the whole family members, and he would sort them out like a postal worker by himself and deliver them to each member of the family. All my life, I mean, until I left home, I had lived with my grandparents. And so he really liked to count the New Year's cards for each member. And he kept standings on his small notebook every year. So he had a record kept by himself. So I had never understood that importance for him. But it was a huge event for him. And that was one of the way he showed his power in the family, or the way he knew he still held the main power in the family. He was a dictator of my family, and we everybody in my family followed his way, followed his orders. He was the ruler of the family. And so he, with the number of the New Year's cards he received, he made sure he was the righteous one to rule the family. And it was so annoying, to be honest, for other members of my family. Everybody except my grandfather hated this custom. And he announced the numbers of each family triumphantly, because he always won in this stupid competition. He always won, not because he worked outside or he had social life outside the family, but because he was the representative of the family. So if someone if some acquaintance of my family wanted to greet New Year's with a New Year card, he or she would send it to my grandfather as a family greeting. So his number included our family's number, so to speak. But he counted them as his own number. So he announced us that he won this year too. But no one beside him never thought we participated that competition. He was the one who resided the competition and won the competition. He was the only one who enjoyed that competition. And one year I got many New Year's cards for myself because I was a high school student then, and I got for some reason I got popular suddenly, and my friends gave many New Year cards. Many of my friends gave me New Year cards, so the number exceeded my father, which intrigued my grandfather so much, and he kept saying to my father, "You lost to your daughter. You lost to your daughter. Your daughter surpassed your number," which, as I said, no one cared. And my father, unlike my grandfather, my father wasn't interested in power or anything. He was a very obedient servant of my grandfather. And so he didn't care, or he didn't he wasn't offended by my grandfather's comment. But I was so annoyed by my grandfather's attitude. It's not because I wanted any power in my family, but it just simply looked so stupid. I didn't understand. I didn't understand what is the point of this number announcement or the accumulation of the New Year cards we received. But every time the New Year's Day comes, I remember this competition and my grandfather's cheerful face. And I think I miss him. I didn't want to I don't want to participate this competition again, but if my grandfather were alive now, he would laugh at me so hard because every year I received no New Year's cards, none, because after I left home for Tokyo to be a musician, my friends are all gone. I mean, I left my friends too. So, I don't have friends, and so it's less and less. My social life is has been smaller and smaller because I'm not working outside. I'm just writing songs or writing books at home. So less and less acquaintances I got. The New Year's cards are fewer and fewer accordingly. So now I have a zero streak for years now, and I imagine how my grandfather would tease me about this number, and how he laugh at me, and how he talk to me, how he would show his power, his really great power compared to me. And I can imagine so easily his happy face of his dominant victory of this competition. Well, that's all for today. Thanks for listening. I'm Hidemi Woods. If you are interested in other books of mine, or my music, my songs, or anything, including my merchandise I design, you can visit hidemiwoods.com, hidemi.com, where every link is available. I really appreciate you join me today and listen to my reading of my book. I hope you join me again soon, and I can share time with you again. Thanks again. Until next time, take care and be well. Okay, it's done. The first recording is done. It went rusty for some reason. I wonder why. It never goes smoothly, to be honest. But today it's rustier than usual. I wonder why. Maybe I'm hungry. Okay. Well, now I'm gonna prepare for the second recording. The second recording will go the same way as the first one. So I'm gonna start with reading the second one roughly. By the way, I'm grateful for you to be to being with me the whole way. Thanks. The second one is like this. It's from the same book. Okay. The classic card game is usually played during New Year's in Japan. There used to be a family gathering in New Year's in my house every year. On one New Year gathering after I won the tournament of the card game at school, I suggested that we play it because I had become extremely good at it. I played with my relatives and my grandfather. I won dominantly by getting most of the cards. Then my grandfather began to be angry with me, saying I was unfair. In 100 poems that cards hold, a player often has his or her favorite poem. It's considered that person's specialty, called my 18th in Japan. No player other than that person can take the card on which his or her favorite poem is written, even if the card is right in front of you. Other players concede it by letting the person pick the card on purpose. They say it's an unspoken rule of the game. I ignored it and just kept taking as many cards as I could, whether it was somebody's 18th or not, because to me the game was a matter of memory and speed. With my grandfather, my relatives also began to complain. Although the game was one of very few things I was good at, nobody had played it with me ever since. This is the second episode for the recording of my podcast. It's also about the New Year's in Japan and the custom of my family. Okay, I need to decide the title of this episode. And it should be, what do you think? Okay. My 18th. How about it? And my 18th for future reference, I'm writing it down. My 18th. Okay. Now I'll record the second podcast of the day. And after I finish recording this episode, this podcast, I'll come back to you and I'll answer your questions and comments. So feel free to join me. Now it's recording time. Okay, let's do it again together, shall we? I hope it will go smoothly. The second one. But it's a far-fetched, I'm sure. Okay, let's do this. Okay, let's do that. Hi, welcome to Talking and Reading from Japan. I'm your host, Hidemi Woods. Here, I'll read an episode from the books I wrote and talk about it or anything I feel like talking to you. I hope you enjoy with me. Today, I'll read an episode from one of my memoirs I wrote, which title is The Girl in Kyoto. The Girl in Kyoto means me. I'm from Kyoto in Japan, and this is one of my experiences from my childhood. And today's episode is called My 18th. This is about the Japanese traditional card game my family used to play at home. My 18th. The classic card game is usually played during New Year's in Japan. There used to be a family gathering in New Year's in my house every year. On one New Year gathering after I won the tournament of the card game at school, I suggested that we play it because I had become extremely good at it. I played with my relatives and my grandfather. I won dominantly by getting most of the cards. Then, my grandfather began to be angry with me, saying I was unfair. In 100 poems the cards hold, a player often has his or her favorite poem. It's considered that person's specialty, called my 18th in Japan. No player other than that person can take the card on which his or her favorite poem is written, even if the card is right in front of you. Other players concede it by letting the person pick the card on purpose. They say it's an unspoken rule of the game. I ignored it and just kept taking as many cards as I could, whether it was somebody's 18th or not, because to me, the game was a matter of memory and speed. With my grandfather, my relatives also began to complain. Although the game was one of very few things I was good at, nobody had played it with me ever since. That was today's episode. This is about the Japanese traditional card game. It's called 100人一首 in Japanese. I think I have talked about it here before, but it's an ensemble of 100 old poems by 100 different poets. It's pretty old poems. It's was comprised about during the 13th century or so. And those poems had become a card game in Japan. And 100 poems are written on each card. Only those poems are a long version of haiku, and the cards are 200 cards in total, because there are two different kinds of cards in one set. One kind, a part of 100 cards is for reading, and the other part is for picking. So those 100 cards for picking are have only the latter half of the poem. The latter half of poems are written on each card, and those are arrayed in front of you, in front of players. And the reader reads the other the another part of another set of 100 cards, on which only the first part of the poem is written on each card. So, to pick a corresponding card fast and correctly, you need to remember the whole poem. So, the minute a reader reads the first section of the poem, you recall the latter half in your brain and search for it among the cards that are scattered in front of you and pick the corresponding one. So the memory and speed is the key to win this game. And for some reason, I was really good at it. And of course, I remembered all those 100 poems completely. So only a word of the first section of the poem was necessary for me to pick the latter half. Because the first word tells me the latter half instantly in my brain. So I just needed to search for it and picked it. And there is I don't know other people in Japan are doing that or not, but at least my family or my relatives who lived quite in a rural area in Japan had a specific unspoken rule for the game, which it's a kind of gentleman's agreement that someone's favorite should be considered, and even if you can be the place to pick it, you shouldn't pick it, because you should let other competitor to take it. Let other competitor take it, because it's her or his favorite, and it's called one's 18th. It's called ohako in Japanese. I forgot why it's called 18th, but there was a reason for being called 18th, because anyway, it's a gentleman's agreement not to take someone's 18th, but I knew that agreement vaguely when it's played among the close relatives or family members. But officially, it's not. It's not an official rule for the game. So officially, they don't. Players don't apply that rule. And at in the tournament that was held at my school, it that rule didn't apply either. So I just players was able to pick as many as they could. And although I knew that very local, my family's specific rule not to take someone's 18th, I ignored it because once I absorb in something, I was absorbed in something, or I got into it. I get into it. I tend to forget those considerate rules or anything. I just tend to stick to what I am doing. So I forget I forget about anything other than my competing. So when I played with my relatives and my grandfather for the first time, I ignored that rule, and I just picked and showed how good I was. And people started complaining to me of ignoring their 18th. And when I was complained, I noticed, I realized what I had done. But to me, it was more important to win the game, because at that time, I got into that game so deeply, and I just couldn't see anything around me, let alone those 18ths or anything. But my grandfather, when I picked one card, I had never played that game with my grandfather until then. And so when I played with them, and I picked a certain card as usual, he suddenly exclaimed that it's my It's my 18th. What are you doing? And it was so funny because I just play I just played the game ordinarily. It's the usual way, the right way. It's the right way to be played. So I just doing the game, and he suddenly interrupted me, and the reason of his interruption was that card was his 18th. And I but I didn't concede it. I didn't concede it to him. I didn't hand it to him. I said I picked it before he picked the one. And in my theory, if he loved that poem so much to enough to make it his 18th, he should have picked much faster. He should have picked instantly. Why he was lost to me for that special card. So I just ignored completely his 18th and his unspoken rule that he had believed all his life for that game. My grandfather had such an interesting character. He was he acted like a dictator of my family, but also he many times he looked like a small child to me because he to show his power or to his position, to show his position clearly to others, he acted in a funny way. His action got so childish and weird and strange and really funny. So I had too many uncomfortable and annoying and disturbing memories with him when I lived with him. But looking back, they were such funny memories of my childhood. All right, that's all for today. Thanks for listening. I'm Hidemi Woods. I hope you come back soon here and join me my reading of the episodes or of my childhood childhood experiences. And if you are interested, you can visit my website, hidemiwoods.com, Hidemi Woods.com, where all the links are available to all books I wrote, all songs I wrote, and even merchandise I designed, and SNS and podcasts and blogs. So if you're interested in other materials of mine, please feel free to visit there. Well, thanks again. Until next time, take care and be well. Okay, all done. The second recording is also finished. So that was all for today's podcast recording. As you listened, I appreciate you if you are sticking to the whole behind the scene live cast, and I really appreciate your interest, and I would like to thank all of you to have dropped by here and listened and watched this live cast, and for doing the recording with me, so to speak. And as you listened, I'm from the city called Kyoto. That is a historical old city of Japan. And in Kyoto, especially the town where I'm from, was a rural town, a small town where the old customs, many old customs of Japan remained, and they abided that custom strictly. So my childhood experiences are probably quite unique compared to other Japanese people. So I think if you are interested in Japan or Japanese daily life, I think I can introduce quite a few unfamiliar ways of living of Japanese people, because it's because of my especially old way living town where I'm from. So if you would like to know about Japanese old life, or specific weird ways of living, I can introduce many things of those. As I said, I host that podcast of mine, talking and reading from Japan, and I do it on a regular basis, and it's it's on many platforms like Amazon Podcast, Apple Podcast, Spotify Video Podcast, Google Podcast, and YouTube Podcast. And it's Talking and Reading from Japan by Hidemi Woods. So if you like, you can follow or subscribe that podcast. I'd really appreciate if you do that. And again, this live cast is the behind the scene of that podcast. And I would like to repeat my gratitude to have dropped by here accidentally or on purpose. Either way, I really want to thank you for coming here and listening to my recording, and for spending time briefly together with me. And I hope I can see you again soon. I really do look forward to seeing you here again. Okay, thank you again, and see you again soon. Until then, take care and take care of yourself, and see you soon. And it's hard to say goodbye, but bye for now. I'll definitely see you soon again. Thank you. Bye for now.